Alrighty, guys. Yeah, while we wait for everybody, we'll just start. So I'd like to introduce you guys to Jayson Morales. He is a former president for the club. He is a middle school math teacher for G2E, and he is a current graduate student. He did get a Bachelor's of Science in Mathematics from 2018. Okay. All right, Jayson, go ahead and you can start.
Today, everyone. Thank you for coming. So, like what Nate said, my name is Jayson Morales. I am a middle school math teacher, and I'm also a graduate student at UOG. So just a little bit about me. So I graduated from UOG in spring 2018 with a Bachelor of Science in Mathematics. You can see some pictures of me and my cohort when we graduated. I was also the EMC2 president from spring 17 to 18. This was after Bonnie, which was after Anamina, who presented last time. Okay. And I also I presented a research over summer 2018 with Dr. Choi and Dr. O and Dr. Nagahashi. And then I was also a math TA for the math department. And besides that, I really didn't have any education experience. Like I never took any classes with the School of Ed. I was just really math major. Okay, just to preface. Okay, and this is all in my undergrad. So after graduating, though, right after I graduated, I applied at GDOE, and at the time, I was really looking to teach high school, but at the time, they didn't have any openings or any positions that I could take. So I just kind of settled for middle school. And at first, I thought I was just going to transfer a year later, but after my first year, even though I gotta admit it was kind of rough, like it was a hard transition, but after my first year, I started to really like it. I like the environment, the students, and I kind of like really like the career. So I ended up staying, and now it's my third year teaching at FDLG Middle School up in Gigo next to Sanchez. And so I decided after my first year of teaching middle school, I said, okay, maybe this is something I want to pursue even more. So I decided that I do a master's in it. But since I didn't have any background in education, I applied for the Master's of Arts in Teaching at UOG. So the picture on the right is me and my cohort. There's actually more of us, but we're divided by the secondary and the elementary. So what you see right there, that's all of the secondary teachers. Okay? So I am currently on my last semester of grad school. So after this sem, I'm done with it. Okay? And just to talk a little bit about what I do as a teacher, like if you don't already know. So my first year, it was face-to-face. Every year I taught so far has been different. My first year was face-to-face, and then my second year it was half face-to-face, half online, distance learning because of COVID. And then my third year, it was a hybrid of the two. So really, like it kept changing. So nothing was really set in stone for me. I never had like a set plan. I always had to keep revising what I was doing. So just recently, this is just a couple of examples of how I taught my lessons through online. I really, because when I would do face-to-face, I would always be up on the chalkboard. I really like working the problems out. But for online, I started to use my iPad. I started using a bunch of different technology to implement to the classroom. And so it really did take like a learning curve, but sooner or later I got the hang of it. But other than the teaching aspect of it, I would say that's maybe like 60% of the job, and the other 40% is like the grading, the lesson planning, the meetings, the classroom management, the behavior management, professional development, calling parents. There's a lot of other things that go into the job besides teaching the content. But in my opinion, the content part is probably the easiest one to handle because it's what I had my degree in. And so the things that I'm teaching now, it's pretty easy for me. But the way that I try to make it my own, the way I try to involve like the creative process, because I do want my students to be like interactive and involved, is I try to create activities or lessons for them that are engaging and interactive. So these are just a couple of things that I've created throughout my years to help my students with the lesson. So the top left-hand corner is a interactive escape room that I made in the theme of Halloween, that they're supposed to try to solve the problems in order to get out within a specific time. The one underneath is a Thanksgiving themed review game on solving equations revolved around Among Us, because at that time, a lot of my students were really into it and they were super excited for it when they were getting into it. So it really helped them learn. And then on the right side, I made a Mario themed PowerPoint along with an assignment to go with it. So the one you see on the bottom right, that's kind of a pixel art assignment that I gave them. Rather than a worksheet, what they're supposed to do is they're supposed to solve the equation and put their answer in one of the cells. It uses conditional formatting, so if they get the answer correct, it turns green and a portion of the image gets revealed. So their goal is to try to get them all green and reveal the picture. So this is just some of the ways that I try to teach my students in a way that's exciting and interactive. Okay. And then how I got to where I was, how to become a certified teacher. So it's actually really easy to be a teacher at GDOE. If you're planning to be a teacher, all you really need is your bachelor's degree. That's like the very minimum that you need. But just let you know, if you do go that route, it's probably the lowest pay you could get. If you do plan on going to teaching, I would recommend you at least get your temporary educator certification. Because for that one, all you need is just your bachelor's, and then you just need to at least pass the praxis score. And this certification is good for 2 years. The test consists of a reading, math, and writing portion. So I also put the scores that you need for each test. It's out of 200. So it's actually pretty okay to pass. But when I was studying for it, all I used was that praxis core exams book. So yeah, but if you want to go even a step higher for your initial educator certification, you need at least 18 education credits. They could either be undergrad or grad credits. So that means if you've taken education classes in your undergrad, that can apply to this. Because I think from what I know, because I didn't go through the School of Ed for my undergrad, but I think if you graduate with a education degree, you're automatically, you have your initial educator certification because you go through all of that. You have your credits and you have to pass all 3 praxis tests. So your praxis test consists of the core, praxis 2, which is your content, and the praxis PLT, which is like theory on education. So it pass all 3, and then with your credits, you get your initial educator certification. And with each certification, your pay goes up. So yeah. Okay. And then now we'll talk about what the MA2 program. So the MAT program, or the Master of Arts in Teaching, I started it in 2019 and I graduated in May of 2021. So it's a 1.5-year program. So it goes by really, really fast. It's 39 grad credits, and in order to get into it, you just need a resume, letter of intent and statement, 2 letters of recommendation, and to at least pass your practice scores, 4 scores. And then the rest you could do while you're in the program. So the program, in my opinion, was really, really good for me because I entered it after my first year, and I would say my first year was my hardest year. Like teaching, it was all new to me. I didn't really know what I was getting myself into. But as soon as I started the program and I started taking the classes, I learned all of these strategies, and the professors really helped how I could like really transform my classroom into a better classroom. They helped with classroom management, theory, strategies, stuff like that. And then also like the environment is just really beneficial. You get to meet people in the same field as you, and then they help you through it. What else? Okay. So for the program, in order to graduate, you do need, again, 39 credits. You also have to do an internship, but basically, if you're working already, that counts as your internship. So it's kind of like student teaching, but paid, right? And then before you graduate, you have to submit or perform a action research paper and then present it. So the one that I'm working on right now is really just the effects of quizzes in a middle school math classroom. So I'm actually still working on this right now. So it's not yet complete. This is the last thing I need to do before I graduate, but it's completely doable. It's really You do it in your own classroom. So you just pick a topic that you want to investigate, that you want to do some research on, and then you write your paper, do the actual research in your class, and then you just present on it. So I thought that this was actually a really good topic for me because this was during the time of distance learning, and I was trying to figure out ways of alternate assessments, and quizzes was one of the ways I did that. So yeah. And then how did I actually pay for the program? Because we all know master's program costs a lot. It's a lot of money, and we all like free. So basically what I did was I applied for the TAE program. It stands for the Teacher and Administrator Effectiveness Project. And they have a thing called the Initial Teacher Certification Project. So what it is they're trying to just get more certified teachers. So they pay your tuition and fees for the classes that are needed for your initial certification. So it's aimed at limited term teacher, which I was at the time, and it's completely funded by GDOE. And I believe they do this every fall semester. They even pay for your practice exams if you haven't taken for it. And you could do what I did was you just take the classes you need and apply it to your master's degree. So there are classes just for certification and there are classes for the master's. Really, it's only a 9-credit difference. So I was looking at it, I was like, I'm okay with just taking 9 extra credits to get that master's degree because it's the same amount of work, or it's all fairly different. So that's why I did to pay for my course. I think I only had to pay like maybe 1,000 or 2,000 for the whole 1.5 years. So that was what I did. And I think that's about it. That's all I wanted to talk about. Any questions? I think I kind of sped through that.
It's okay. Thank you, Jayson. If you guys have any questions, you guys are free to ask. I guess I'll just start it. So, Jayson, for that TAE program, do they require anything from you afterwards? Because I know like some programs require you to work.
Yeah, so you just, I believe, if I'm correct, you do have to work for GDOE for a certain amount of years. I think you just pay it back through service. I'm not too entirely sure the number of years you have to do that, but yeah, that's the only thing they ask of you. And I think if you like, if you don't fulfill it, you just pay, it gets converted into a loan, so you have to pay it back if you don't go through with it.
And then you said that's for every fall, right?
I think it's just depending on how much funding GDOE has. But yeah, since I started it, I believe there's been 2 other cohorts that started it as well. Yeah, so it's been every fall since I started. I'm not too, yeah, something like that, every fall. There's usually like a thing on the GDOE website that you could look at. If I could find it, I could send it. But yeah, really good. It pays for, basically pays for everything. You don't really have to worry about much. And then there's also the Teach Grant. So if you guys really don't want to pay for anything, you just apply for the Teach Grant, plus you get this, and then your whole program is paid for. You have to pay it back in terms of service.
Okay, thank you. Anybody else have any questions? Feel free.
And I just put my contact info if you guys want to ask anything else later. And yeah.
Okay, here, I'll just do another question. So would you say that since you didn't do any education classes, would you say that your classes in the math program helped you with your job?
I would more so I would say actually yeah, the 392. So I know 392 is the basically your TA for credit, right? So I would say that actually helped me the most, being able to be in that setting where that you could actually tutor and you could actually be in the help out the professor or help out the instructor. That put me in better, yeah. So yeah, because you get to tutor people, you get to help the professor with the class. That actually helped me to be in the classroom for teaching.
Anybody? Questions?
Okay.
Feel-
I think I see a question from Regina. Can you share the timeline of when you took the exams and certification? Okay. Yeah. So if I remember correctly, I believe it was after I graduated, before I applied at EOG, or before I applied at GDOE, I took the practice core so that I was already a limited term teacher. I got my limited term certification, so I was at least making a salary. Okay, it was by salary. Because if not, if you don't have at least your core, you'd be paid by hourly, which was like is really a big difference. And then it wasn't until I started the master's program, maybe a year from when I first started teaching, was when I took the Praxis 2 and Praxis PLT. But if you are planning on going that route, I was just waiting until you take the class with the theories class, because that actually helps you prepare you for the PLT. And I took that after, I believe there was learning theories, ED 60 something. And then for content though, that's your own, or for the practice too, that's your own content. So it's up to you whenever you want to take it. You just have to review on your own. There are some practice tests you could take, but other than that, that's probably the one that you have to study for the most. But since it's your content, you should be familiar with it. Yeah, hopefully that answered the question. And then, yeah, so by the time I took all three practices, and then I had at least, because I didn't have any education credits, so I had to get all of my 18 credits from my grad classes. So once I had my credits and my three practice pass, that's when I submitted it to GCEC at UOG, the one at School of Ed, and then that's when I got my initial certification. Also, a difference between limited term and the professional or initial is that limited term, you have to reapply every year and you don't get paid over summer. But with the initial certification, you get paid over summer and you don't have to reapply. So there's a lot of bonus pluses to being fully certified.
Okay. So if you guys have questions, feel free to put it in the chat, or you can ask him directly. While we wait for that, do you have any advice for people? Oh, we have a question. There you go. What was your initial plan to do with your degree?
Yeah, also with the math degree, I initially thought I was going to go into maybe higher mathematics, like what a lot of my cohort did. They entered grad school or go into research. But as soon as I got to the upper division, I was like, I really thought about it. I was like, is this really what I wanted to do? And then I was like, maybe really teaching was my fallback. And so I kind of did fall back on it. And I don't regret it though, because I am enjoying what I do, but I like having that as a cushion. So like if ever if I wanted to do anything else, I do still have that experience with research and upper division. So yeah. And then any advice for math majors? Yes, currently suffering. Okay, for that advice for math majors, and yeah, it's rough. I gotta admit, as soon as I like start of 302 and all of the upper division classes, those were like tough. Those were the toughest classes I've ever taken, especially with improving. I kind of got shocked. It's like, where's all the solving? Where's all the numbers? I miss all that. But yeah, it really helps when you have a good class with your classmates, working group settings. Uh, it helps you guys get through the class. So my cohort was really close, and that's basically how we survived the harder math classes. We were just all working together. If we didn't know how to do it, we like do group study sessions. Oh, best it's from April Casiko. So I see what's the best experience you've had as a teacher. I would say the most rewarding thing of being a teacher is when you actually have like former students that come back to you and they tell you how much of an impact you had on them. So one, I think it was a student from my first year. He was at Sanchez and he came back after school and he like told me that how he learned how the student he wasn't doing well in my class, and even when he left he didn't leave on the best mark, but when he got to Sanchez I heard from his like new teachers that he was actually doing really well. And so when he came back and told me that, and that how my class actually kind of prepared him for the future classes, it felt good. So seeing them do well, that's what I really like as a teacher. Yeah. There's also a lot of other stuff too.
So as a teacher, I'm pretty sure you had your fair share of problematic students. What is your
Yeah.
what is your approach for that?
So depends. So I really like my first year. I wasn't expecting a lot of like behavior, or actually, I did have a lot of behavior problems. I really didn't know how to approach it because like that was the thing I was unprepared for. Like I was ready for everything else except for the behavior problems. But like a lot of my classes, I've learned that it's more of like a preemptive thing. You kind of want to set up your class so that it mitigates problems in the first place. So like a lot with like the just how you give directions, how you talk to the students, um, even just like where you place them. It's just stuff like that that I learned from my classes that I still apply to my like classes now that I still remember. But sometimes it does get out of control. You just have to and don't be afraid to call on or ask other teachers for help. That's probably the number one thing I did my first year was I was asking all of the veteran teachers, hey, how do you do this? What should I do if the student's doing this? So there's a lot of other teachers that know what they're doing and they've been there longer. So it's good to just ask someone for experience or who is experienced. And then I see a question from Rodriguez. How is teaching online for you? So online teaching it's actually, I really like it. It makes me feel like I have a more creative process, or it makes me think more of like what I can do to engage them. So that's why I included these samples because I thought these were fun to make. And I also saw that a lot of them really reacted well to them, especially seeing like just uh, with them seeing it. So they do say that they enjoy it and they want to see more of it. So I try to incorporate as much as I can. The only thing that is it's hard to get a hold of the students that just don't appear. Yeah. Yeah, so it's like the ones contacting the ones who just don't show up or who are always absent. That's really the problem. Like because you don't see them, and plus you only see them once a week. So if they're out 1 week, uh, yeah. Hopefully that answers your question, Ms. Rodriguez.
This might be a little I don't know what the word is, but controversial. Do you think teaching online is beneficial for your students?
I would just say at the time, like it is like probably the best workaround. I okay, I don't want to say anything that's not that might cause trouble, but online does have its perks that you can't really get in face to face. But of course, face to face is still my preferred way. But during the times like this, it's understandable that parents don't want to send kids to school, and also the fact that not everyone has access to online, or that makes it a lot more difficult to reach the students if they don't have proper access to the uh, technology that's needed. So I would get a lot of messages. Sometimes my students wouldn't be able to complete it because their Wi-Fi or their internet was acting up, or sometimes they don't even have enough because maybe they have siblings that they're sharing a laptop with. So that gets really tough trying to grade them. Like you know that they're good kids and that they're trying to get the work done, but it like yeah, how do you grade that? That kind of makes it a little bit tough.
Okay, sorry for that. I just wanted to see what you would say.
Yeah,
On a lighter note, do you think being in our club helped you with your current endeavors, and how so?
I would just say that I mean, since when I was president or when I was still part of the club, the club was very active and they're very like really nice. You meet a lot of nice people and a lot of people from different backgrounds. So that's the best. Like the people from the club from when I was still there, I still talk to them, and it's really just meet new people who share similar values as you or like similar backgrounds, and you get to learn from them too. Uh, yeah, and then I would say it is definitely worth it. Yeah. I don't know if that answered the question, but how did it with my endeavors?
It's okay. Does anyone else have any other questions? Feel free. Um, if there's no other questions, um, feel free to contact Jayson. His information is yes, his information is here. So if you do have any questions, whether it's just you don't have anything right now or you're a little shy, feel free to contact him. He's very approachable.
Yeah.
Um, on that note, thank you, Jayson, for this presentation. And sorry for the questions, but yeah, thank you guys for coming to our alumni series. We'll have a couple more within the semester. And yeah, thank you guys, and thank you, Jayson.
Okay, thanks for having me.